Greetings, Light Tribe. Janine Palmer here, Silver Moon for Harmony Energy Healing. And I wanted to talk a little bit today about spirituality, which is different for everyone. People might have similar understandings of it, and it depends largely on where they gained their information as far as teachers, cultures, things they read, programming and conditioning, right? Events in life, traumas, whatever, that might lead them within, that might direct them or redirect them within to where we start tapping into our own truth, our own divinity, kingdom within, God spark, whatever you want to call it, to where knowing comes from us. We might not even realize that because we did study and learn, and what we studied and learned might have opened us up to certain things. Okay, and so we're actually remembering what we already know, which we had forgotten. Now, some people adopt belief systems, and then they feel like they have to defend those, okay? I've talked about this before where I feel like if you feel like you have to defend something, it might not be your truth. Now remember, ego likes to be right, okay? And push the point, I suppose, and maybe sometimes in obstinate and belligerent ways to try to point out where other people are wrong. When you get to a certain spiritual level, okay, you don't have to point out that people are wrong anymore. Nobody can take your truth from you. What you know is yours. It's your truth within, and nobody can take it from you. So you don't have to fight to defend it. You don't have to make anybody else wrong to make yourself right in this duality of the illusion of right and wrong. Okay? So people talk about this a lot, that there's people on a spiritual path that either misunderstand or misuse it. Some people use it to manipulate others. Some people feed on weaknesses. They pinpoint weaknesses and wounds and use that to their advantage. That's not necessarily very spiritual. Okay, so everybody is on a path of unfolding and awakening to their spiritual truth or origin, or not. It depends on the individual, when and how they open to that, or if they even do in this lifetime. Okay, so somebody else spiritual might have a different understanding of it, and they might just like to sit and point out to other people exactly where they're wrong in negative ways. So people who are on their path, because everyone's at different levels of awakening and awareness, so people who are on their path at different levels, they have different understandings because they've had different experiences and they've had different information come into their field of awareness, which may or may not have opened them. Maybe they're not open yet. Maybe they're starting to open. Maybe they're partway open. Maybe they're even all the way open. And maybe they're doing work in ways other people don't understand. And maybe those other people in their programming and conditioning and their pains and wrath and anger and jealousy and resentment and whatever the hell is going on might want to attack people to make themselves feel superior. And maybe attack's not the right word. Maybe it's single out. Maybe it's bashing and poking. And so, like, sometimes we might post something on Facebook that we feel is a positive, good, uplifting message. And somebody else might want to come in who claims to be spiritual, but they want to find something negative or create something negative about it from a different perspective. They want to put it down. They want to wave their pitchforks and their banners and prove that they're right. And they're not honoring the person who did the post or what the message even says because they want to find fault with it. That shows woundedness, people. They want to find fault with it. They want to put something negative in there. Then there's dialogue, which people might learn from, but people might be feeding off of it. So when are we injecting or projecting negative things, feeding negativity, and then feeding off of the responses unless and until someone then decides not to engage anymore. So when you don't engage, so you might have a perspective to share. But when you can see that someone just wants to stay in the negative, they want to be belligerent, they want to be obstinate, they want to try to put you down, you don't have to feed it. Learn to laugh. And detachment, learn to disengage. You know how Buddha said attachment causes suffering. Detach. So if you feel offended by it, it's probably pointing out something in you that still needs to be resolved, needs to be healed, needs to be let go, whatever. That's up to the individual to determine. But when people do stuff and you feel like you have to react, I suppose you're working through and processing something maybe. When you get to the point where you can recognize what's going on, when you can recognize projections, when you can recognize the negativity in another, you don't have to hold it against them. You don't have to let it bring you down. So you can recognize what's going on and not engage. Because if you're not engaging, you're not reacting, you're not feeding the negativity, it'll go away eventually. So spirituality is an individual path for each person, and no other person can tell anyone else that they're wrong. Now, someone might be acting in a negative way or in a way that's creating hellishness in their life, and somebody else might point them out to them, and they may or may not be open to listen to another perspective, to learn from it. That's choice. Everybody has that choice. But it's nobody's place to say to anybody else that they're wrong, even if they're doing something heinous. I mean, there are laws and rules, and there are certain things that are not okay, but on not that level, but just on levels where we might observe that someone's doing something wrong. Okay, maybe it is and maybe it isn't. Maybe it's not wrong for that person. Maybe that's something they have to go through to learn, which we can't judge because we don't know what's going on in the higher levels. We might be intuitive. We might have all kinds of wisdom of a culture or a religion. We might have all this knowledge, and we might think we know everything, and we're probably wrong. Okay, so we have to let other people have their experiences, because everybody here gets to create their reality by their free will choice, by trial and error. Okay, so if we've been programmed with certain cultures and religions, and this is the way it is, and someone else isn't following, you're wrong. Fuck that. Anyway, peace, blessings, love, and light on your spiritual journey. And when you begin to rise above the control of ego, I mean, you can't get rid of ego, but when you begin to rise above the control of it, what a beautiful thing. When you begin to notice yourself not reacting and you're in your power, hallelujah. Peace, love, and light.